Welcome to this webinar today, sponsored by the BYU Management Society. I'm Rixa Oman. I'm Executive Director of the Management Society, and I'll be your moderator today. We're so glad you can join us for this webinar. I'm excited to have Angel Zimmerman to present on time management tips, something that we all need, with her special glimpses into running a small law firm and being your own boss. Let me explain a few housekeeping items before we get started. The audio portion of the presentation can be heard through the speakers on your computer. If you prefer to call in, you can choose that option as well as with the information you're given. During the presentation, all attendees are muted. In other words, you can hear us, but we can't hear you. That's in order to deliver a clear presentation for all. Many of you asked questions on the survey when you registered, and we've reviewed these questions carefully and will respond to a number of them during the presentation. Although we can't address everyone individually, they've helped us to direct the presentation. Now let me introduce today's speaker. Angel Zimmerman is the managing partner of Zimmerman & Zimmerman, PA, and practices law with her husband and staff. She's currently chair of the Women in Law, which is part of the J. Reuben Clark Law Society, and that is how I met her. She's also active on many other boards and commissions, including Vice President of Strategic Partnering with the National Conference of Women Bar Associations and Chair of the Chamber of Commerce for Go Topeka Women's Initiative. Angel's the author of the time management chapter in the book, Her Story, Lessons in Success from Lawyers Who Live It. Fascinating book that's got some great uplifting personal essays about achieving success and how women are doing that and juggling careers and the curveballs of life all at the same time. Angel is a 2006 graduate of the Washburn School of Law in Topeka. She's a super proud mother of 4 children, ages 17, 18, 20, and 22, who are now each other's best friends and seek opportunities to travel and be together. I'm excited to have her here and eager to turn it over and let you hear her. So if you'll hold on just 1 minute, I will allow her to take over the screen. Angel, here we go.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you, Rixa.
Okay, there you go.
Got it. Thank you much. All right. So typical attorney style, we kind of have this need to do our disclaimers. So the opinions, information, books, quotes that I share with you in this webinar are from my personal library and do not reflect any endorsements from the J. Reuben Clark Law Society or the BYU Management Society. However, I am deeply grateful for being asked to participate, and it has been exciting to be part of this committee to develop webinars giving global support to women of faith in business and in law. So please continue to share with us topic areas that will help you. And again, thank you for your comments and questions ahead of time. And put in a little plug as chair of the Women in Law, if it looks like it might be a good time for you to maybe look at opportunity to serve, we are actively looking for more women to serve, and my contact information is going to be at the end of this presentation. So today, my format is going to be stories and tips and books that have helped me try to work with my biggest opponent, and probably yours as well, and that is time. So again, thank you for the over 300 written comments on the struggles and concerns and the requests on this topic. I have read them, I have pondered all of them and prayed about them over the course of this last month. So I am a strong advocate for branding yourself and branding your business, and that you should always start with your strengths and being positive. So for those of you who are looking for some positive marketing tips and strategies, I highly encourage the ABA section on women rainmakers. So I'm going to start with this caveat. Please do not start your speech typically with what I'm going to do in the next slide. However, in this slide, this is where many of us women start, and I am no different. I also want to put in a little plug. Thank you to all the men who have joined us. I love seeing all of these registrations. I especially like hearing from the young men and fathers who say that they're joining us because they want to help understand and support us better, and they know that this is a good place to get tips on progressing themselves. Now, for those of you who are listening by phone, this is a screen of a very small list, of quite a long list I can provide, of who I am not. And sometimes it is easy, or often easy, to feel that we have nothing to give because of who we are not. So, tip number 1 is going to be, if you are going to master time, you need to know who you are. You need this list. So yes, this is going to be an hour of talking a lot about lists and checklists. And highly encourage you, if you're running a business and running your home, to look at, read, skim the book, The Checklist Manifesto by Atul Gawande, a fantastic read. But so here is my list. I am my mother's daughter. Not too hard to pick out from these 2 pictures that I'm showing. I am exceptionally proud to be female. I am Latter-day Saint. My mother joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints when I was 3 years old. My father remains atheist. I am a wife, a mother, an attorney, an entrepreneur, very much a Kansas girl, and heavily community involved. I serve on over 15 boards and commissions. I love teaching, and I think youth these days are absolutely amazing. So, I encourage you to start with where you are. It has taken me years to create this list, and to believe in it, and to take pride in it. I painfully watched my mother try to learn how to like herself. You too may be first generation, like we are, and my mother didn't have an easy childhood. I remember her taking and watching her take a permanent marker, so bear with me a little bit, and across her stomach, I saw her write U-G-L-Y. I saw her do it, and I was learning to read, realizing that her daughter could read, and was watching my mother began her journey of change. So mothers, I promise you that your daughters are watching. I am a duplicate of my mom, and now my girls are very similar to me. And as any mother knows, your daughters are gorgeous. So that must mean that you are too, and that we need to act accordingly. Please, please take this as a huge time tip. This will be a time saver in your life and to the generations to come if you will learn to treat yourself as beautiful. I received both a wake-up call and a validation of a calling to serve women more openly and boldly last year when I received our community's Women of Influence Award for Mentorship. I vowed that evening to live to become worthy of that title. I do love to share and encourage. I have read your dozens and dozens of comments. How can I manage grad school, a husband, kids, work, church? And the list goes on and on and on. Yes, been there, done that, and you can too. I put my husband through law school, working full-time with 2 kids, birthed 2 more while he was in law school. 3 years later, it would be my turn. Law school, teaching seminary, my choice at that time, working with a 3, a 5, and a 7-year-old. We had 1 car. We were switching between the office and school all throughout the day and without daycare. But we did have access to a grandma and a great-grandma when schedules absolutely collided that we could call upon. So yes, it is okay to question how you are going to do this. It is okay to be exhausted, and you should be exhausted. So, as a seminary teacher for the last 18 years, we would teach and go through our kids, or with our kids, 25 scripture masteries. and the youth would work on memorizing and mastering those scriptures. We have now moved on and we have 25 doctrinal masteries. So I thought it might be a fun thing to do with you today to do some time masteries. So do you remember tip number 1? It's remember who you are. Now, with so many comments from young moms, I truly hope that Lion King is still in the mix of Disney movies you get the privilege of watching a million times. So please watch Lion King again. Also watch Moana and Frozen and Tangled and The Book of Life. All these movies are worth burning into your brain and into your kids' brains. You will share these teaching moments with your kids far into their teenage and adult life. So do not feel guilty. It is okay to be exhausted and to sit there like a lump and watch it with them. Of course, you have to. How is it going to be burned into your brain and you're going to be able to remember it and call it up for those teaching moments later? Oh, those other times, there's not time to sit and watch it with the kids? Then let them watch it, and then they'll give you a recap of it in the car. Fun times in the car. Now to tip 2. We have got to understand that both the use of yes and no should be used to help us progress. I love yes, and I struggle with no. I'm sure many of you are like this as well. But there are tons of people, websites, books to help teach you how to say no. So I want to help teach you how to say yes. And maybe because I taught you what no means, there might be a time for you to use no because you know that you've got memories that you want to create doing something else. So you guys are going to soon learn that I really like mnemonics. And yes, and this is something you feel within you. Yes stands for yearning to experience and succeed. And no, used properly, is done because in is next and O is opportunity. And you know that your next opportunity is on the way and you've got to have room for it. Another little side tip is learn how to say no in a yes kind of way. I often get to say, oh, I'm not able to take your case. However, I can give you a list of 3 other people who you should call. I encourage you to have a little black book of everyone that you can think of and their skill sets. Being asked to help plan a wedding? Oh, I can help there too. Here are the list of mothers that have done the last 3 weddings. They probably still even have decorations, maybe even the colors that you need, and are fresh with the ideas of what worked and what didn't. Often you need to realize they didn't really need you. They needed answers and solutions. And so by turning them over to someone competent, this will create less stress for you, and you get to still be seen as the Wonder Woman problem solver and their go-to gal. At the bottom of the screen on most of the pages, you're going to see a reference to a book. These are tips that I have learned, and so if you're listening by phone, please do take the opportunity to check back in and look at the slides for these additional resources and tips. But I want to share with you a quick read. This is from 1895 from Frances Willard. This is during the suffrage movement. She learns to ride a bike. She explains the freedom that this could give women. Literally, she says, this can help them get out of abusive relationships, get jobs, and obviously get more things done. So she tracks it, 1,300 minutes. She also tracks what is a good riding skirt, what are gloves. She journals about how to mount and dismount gracefully and the whole frustration of the process. She learns, and then she lets her learning speed up the process for others. She also lets us know that she wasn't perfect and that a bike, like a horse, can definitely buck. But she says that she loved acquiring this new implement of power. And then she also shares at the end of the book, there was joy because many said I couldn't do it. So ladies and guys, never underestimate the power of spite. Many of you asked, where can I find the power and where can I find the energy? I love this saying that is going around in the internet, and it's been around for a very, very long time. I love the saying. It says, "Be the kind of woman that when your feet hit the ground in the morning, the devil says, 'Oh no, she's up.'" Now, sometimes we have some easy no's. Easy no's that really shouldn't be no's. For me, it is writing. I was, or am, serving on the National Conference of the Women Bar Association, and Teresa Beck came with an ABA project and asked if I would write a chapter on time management. Easy no. Writing, I say no. I practice with my husband. He's an English major. He's been writing a law practice management article every month for the last 10 years. But she asked me, and she thought I could do it. So time tip number 3, let others' belief in you prompt you to grow. So I worked with the chapter for a couple weeks, praying and giving it the allotted time it deserved, something I rarely do. The chapter came as I realized it was the 20th anniversary of the passing of my mother. And I could share with you things I have learned from her. So, my mother taught me that there was always time for one more thing, one more thing, one more thing. The most vivid and lingering memory that I have of my mom was when I was working towards my undergraduate degree. We were sitting in my car after a mother-daughter date. Another tip, guys, do mother-daughter dates. And I was feeling that life was rather tough. I was enrolled in 21 credit hours. I was working 2 jobs. I was serving as counselor to our children's organization at church, which always had teachers missing. And I felt I was having to manage adults as much as I was having to manage kids. She bluntly said, "It must be nice to have so much free time." I was shocked and I was hurt. Yep, it's going to be no surprise here. Spike kicked in and I thought, I'll show you. And I promptly packed my schedule even more. For years, I've assumed that she was trying to tell me about that mother's schedule, that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, no time off. But gradually, I have come to believe that she meant to share the awe of the immense privilege we have to live in a time and a place that allows us so many opportunities to fill our time. I didn't have to spend my days working as a slave to earn a bowl of meal. I didn't have to eke away my time step by step crossing the plains. My time is largely mine. It's not consumed with the cultural or societal demands of previous generations of women. I could go into the world and claim a place for myself in school, at work, and in my community. So, when writing the chapter, I created what I felt was the important elements of time and what I have learned from my mom. And now that this book has recently been published, it's fun for me to get to read the book and read what others say, and for me to get the opportunity to say, "Ooh, me too," or "I want to try that." So I hope today that some of these additional tips that I have put in will provide you confidence because you're already doing them. I hope some will give you an aha moment of your own, and maybe 1 or 2 of these tips will help you now or in the future. So here's what I consider the elements or the components of time. T, team and talent. You are never able to do anything within a vacuum. You've got to have a team. You've got to use what you've got. Even if you don't believe it's very much, you do have talent. I, you've got to show up. That's initiative. And what you have done has impact. M, pay attention. Keep your head up, and you got to watch so you can serve. Moments do matter. Keep at it. Don't give up. Put one foot before the other, and you'll become impressed with what you've been able to do. Oh my goodness. Momentum really can happen. And E, energizing enthusiasm equals exponential effect. Yes, you cannot create time, but we can create energy. And you know, and you have felt when energy was much more rewarding than time. So I am on this journey with you. I do not claim mastery, but I am working, and I start over daily. I don't claim any superiority, but what I have learned is significant. And if I can help you learn anything beneficial, a day, a month, or a year earlier, then I have found it, or when maybe you would have stumbled across it yourself in the future. It has been a blessing to get to spend this time with you. Well, the book has just been published. My chapter was written several years ago, and it's interesting that I have now heard this quote 5 times this year alone. I hope you will put it where you can see it often. It says, and it's by Marianne Williamson, "Your playing small doesn't serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. As we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. So be bold and be more for you, for your kids, and for those you serve. Give permission for others to go and do, not sit and stew." So that phrase, by the way, is from John By the Way, and I recommend all his books, especially his mnemonic on church. So let's start. Talent and team. All right, so I hope you do know your talents. If you don't, you've got to ask others. Also, you need to think about it and find the talents that you would like to have, set them on a list and go out and get them. So this is a webinar for women of faith, and it looks like a good majority of us are also LDS. So let me share one of my favorite places that I go to find where my priorities should be and my talents. That's in our meditation time during the sacrament that we take every week as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So, did your mind wander off? Yeah, mine too. I have taken the word take for taking the sacrament, and I go through each letter. T, take on his name. A, always remember him. K, keep the commandments. And E, endure to the end. This is also a great tip for kids and youth as well to help them learn how to use this time well. This is actually time tip number 4. Spend a little time on each letter and go through your past week. Then have a small piece of paper. I use blank business cards. They were given to me by my husband. And I sit down and I write there and I ponder the thoughts that come. Inspiration does come. Priorities for the week. Somebody that I need to say hi to. A phrase or a question. How I can word it a little bit better so it will not create that battle at home or at the office. Now, because you have talent, we've got to get back to that whole energy thing. I did this right before this webinar. I highly encourage you to go look at the TED Talk about power posing. It is an exceptional place for you to get that little extra energy boost by opening yourself up and standing tall and proud. Now, I've never really been able to do it for the 2 minutes she suggests, but for even a couple seconds, I can feel the power infusing within me. Tip number 6, get dressed. I was just introduced last week to this woman. She's called the Fly Lady. She loves fly fishing, and she actually now has fly represent finally loving yourself. She has great books and series and a website full of time-saving tips for you to become better at home. So this is probably one that I will pass on to my husband. Now, tip number 7. Never, never, never underestimate the power of music. Please use it. I have an Angel Zimmerman playlist on YouTube. And well, actually, I have several playlists on YouTube. And someone has mentioned that timers can be very helpful. Yep, I have a 3-hour music empowerment playlist, and it is a great timer for me at the office on the weekend. Also, I've got a half-hour playlist, which is great to put in when I know that this particular thing should only take X number of minutes. So this is a tip for those of you who said, I have such a difficult time gauging time. Set a timer and then set it to music. All right. With this, so many comments on, I hate it that I procrastinate. I waste so much time. Here is another tip. Yep, a hidden talent that you can have and possess and claim. Own it. How hard to admit, but yes, it is. I procrastinated even on this webinar. I don't know how many times I told myself, not this time and not this topic. Get your head in the game. You can do this. I had exactly 1 month to put this together. And yep, I did spend tons and tons of hours on this. But yeah, even last night and the day of, I was still working on it. I literally took out tip number 8, this tip, and replaced it with this tip this morning. But I also can proudly say that in my art of productive procrastination, I got 200 pieces of paper off my desk last Saturday. Now, team, you are a Wonder Woman, and of course you are, and you need an amazing team. Now, this is tip number 9, and it really, really should be tip number 1. No one is going to have more impact on you than your spouse. Over and over again in the chapters in the book, Her Story, are women saying that they have and enjoy life because of the spouse that is there for them. I was on a CLE panel, and afterward, a panelist excused herself, and then it came back and explained it to me that she needed to hurry up and call home so dinner would be ready because her husband makes dinner half an hour before the half an hour between the call. She then told me that she often looks around, young woman after young woman, who can't participate or have time for the projects that are energizing and satisfying. Young women have come to her and have asked her, how can I have this type of time? She sadly reported, I looked at who they married and realized that this young woman will never get these opportunities. Please take the time to use your heart and your head and discuss how your marriage is going to impact you throughout your life. Now, of course, tip number 10, you are on your kids' cheer team. Now I ask, let them be on yours. Often my kids make me dinner, pack me a lunch, or bring me a snack. I now have the privilege of teenage daughters, and they can even help plan what I am going to wear. Please seriously consider putting your children on your team. They are the ones who you want to have the longest and deepest relationship with. I have been blessed with 4 children who have always been part of my team. They are so much part of my team that they help me study. They've always been on business trips with me, and they now even have and do run conferences with me. I am fond of saying that while we don't have the typical Kansas family farm where kids learned how to milk cows and collect eggs, we did have our Kansas family law firm where they learned to file and image, take out trash, track statistics, speak on industry topics. The office successes were their successes. Mom and Dad's awards were also theirs. I highly also encourage you, just like companies do, create a mission statement, create family mottos. They are used in business to leverage and save time, and they can do so for you as well. I have those listed in the corner that we've done for our family. Tip number 12, you're needing energy? Please don't disengage. Actually belong. Yes, it is okay to feed off the energy of others. Actually, let me tell you something. You are helping us power up rather than depleting us when you join and help belong to the sisterhood. Tip number 13, engage men. Fond of saying that Abigail Adams told us, don't forget the ladies. Now, I say don't forget the men do not forget the role that men will play. I am a firm advocate of mothers like my mother-in-law that can raise men to be equals. I promise you the synergy of 2 people aligned both in work life and in home life produces well beyond the capacities of just two individuals. I have a husband who is an equal partner in parenting and well beyond an equal partner in household chores and in office commitments, which allows me that additional time to serve. For those of you who are up for the challenge, I believe it is our duty to marry men like this and to raise sons like this, and to also let them speak up and help change our culture from the top down. Now, I also know that things have a pendulum and pendulums swing before they stabilize. My husband is very vocal when he hears a man say, got babysitting duty for the night. He'll proudly say, dads cannot be babysitters, they are parents. And in our house, the kitchen is not my territory, it is his. And I'm kind of hoping that my girls get it that way as well. Maybe before that equality in the kitchen and cleaning duties happen. Maybe that can be for my granddaughters. My husband is adamant that providing and presiding in our home is making sure that his wife is given everything that she needs to progress, which means he does the cooking and the cleaning, good majority of the carpool duty and the late night nursing obligations. Initiative and impact. I encourage you to have a power phrase. Within the first 2 years of my practice, I was given priceless advice. This was by a woman. Her name is Crystal Marquardt. She is Judge Marquardt. She was on the Kansas Court of Appeals. She explained that she found herself many years ago in law school as a single mother with 4 boys. Her mantra was win. That to be successful, she's got to do what's important now. She said sometimes it was important to stay and finish a brief. Other times it was important to be in the bleachers at the kids' practice. And sometimes, she says, it was studying in the bleachers. Some other phrases, as you already know, I tend to tell myself I can do that one more thing, that one more thing. I love the phrase, the main thing is to keep the main thing, the main thing. And I encourage you, so often you need to tell yourself, just look up and take a deep breath. Now, for some of you who are perfectionists, your phrase may need to be, that's good enough. Now, time to move on. So, tip number 15. My Lean Six Sigma instructor, who can help you become more efficient in the office, and obviously those efficiencies can be brought home, shared a fun story. Now, this isn't a picture of his daughter, but he was explaining to his family, his kids were asking what his job was, and he was explaining Lean Six Sigma, and that he helps put time management and efficiencies into the workday. And he said it was interesting to find his kids, as he opened the door, lining up and figuring how they could make their morning more efficient. It has actually taken me 45 years to learn this one, but for the last 2 years, I have learned that it truly is a time saver to plan your clothes the night before. For some of you who are super achievers, I guess I encourage you to maybe plan 7 days in advance. You can do this with your bags, your lunch, include your family in this project so that morning time can be some cherished time. Tip 16. So those of you that asked, give me a system, just give me a system. This is a fantastic system. Now, my husband doesn't like self-help books and finding the inner you. He says often that I don't need Stephen R. Covey's 10,000-foot view. I just want to get the paper off my desk. This is the perfect book and system. David Allen is a huge believer of you've got to get everything out of your head onto lists, and that your brain is used for creativity. It is not used for trying to store information. He has another fantastic rule that he says if it can be done in 2 minutes, just do it. If it can't be done in 2 minutes, then it's time for one of the other D's that apply. Defer it, delegate it, or get it deleted. Maybe that thing just needs to be trashed. So tip number 17. In the comments it says, how can I salvage my day? How can I recover that bad day start? Well, for those of us, again, the procrastinator, the one who says, how can I figure out realistic time frames? Yep, just set a timer and track what the realistic time it is to do these chores. And then, obviously, as a previous tip suggested, maybe you need to set it to music or just use that timer. Now, something I learned from my mother. There are times where you've just got to restart or reboot life. We love that New Year's, time for New Year's resolutions. Sometimes we see a new month or a new day as a new start. I often would find my mother looking at her watch and deciding that it was okay to waste the rest of this minute, and that at the next minute she would reboot and start life. So for those of you who need that opportunity to have a new start, maybe it's just in that new minute. Another additional little tip is time blocking. Now, time blocking is not for me. I love an open door policy, but it is a good thing for my husband. So different people, different tips. But I do sometimes use a block. And because I'm a procrastinator, sometimes I will give myself, I've got a week to get something done. If I don't get it done, then I've blocked off Saturday at 2 p.m. That means I've got all week to get it done. And 2 p.m. Saturday really is the time I would love to spend with my husband and my kids. So it becomes a reward to get that item off the list so it's not sitting at that block of time. Tip 18. Now these pictures are actually from the self-reliance course that the LDS Church offers on finances. My mother actually used this with pots and would explain to me and explained it to me through understanding time. Also by looking through the comments, I liked seeing the comments that says, I need help with my big rocks. So I know that a lot of you out there know this parable and that you've got to get the big rocks in first, and then the little stones and the sand and finally the water will all fit in. But if you do backwards, it won't all fit. Initiative. So this is tip 19. I love having found this at a meeting that I was at helping plan seminary. It is from Spencer W. Kimball, and he said, he was asked, what do you do when you find yourself in a boring meeting? And I'm going to use it for meeting in general because it can be used for any meeting. And he said, I don't know. I have never been in one. I encourage you to make the goal to be never in a boring meeting. If you think that that is happening, look around. There is something to learn. If not from that, you will go inward and find something to learn from there. Please re-engage. There is someone or something that you are to learn in these moments. So moments matter. So tip number 20, I share a moments matter, a moment, an aha moment that I had as a new attorney in my chapter. But today I'm going to share with you a moment that just happened within the last month. We were in our women's organization at church, and somebody had, or the teacher had mentioned that we all have thorns in our flesh. And I started thinking about thorns. And a little side note, I'm a huge believer. If somebody says something negative about you, what can you do to reclaim that phrase or that word and turn it into a positive? So something I hear a lot, and I work with the youth, and I've already told you I believe that they are awesomely wonderful. I hear, and some of you have asked questions, what can I do to work with millennials? And I often hear, they think that they are so entitled. And I can tell you that I have worked with youth in Girl Scouts, in grade schools, in high schools, in seminary, and elsewhere. And I can tell you that more than in any other generations, watching my grandparents' generation, watching my parents' generation, and watching my generation, you bet these youth know that they are entitled sons and daughters of God. They pray for answers knowing, not hoping that they will get answers. They read their scriptures for revelation because obviously they would get answers. They want families, they want work, and they want recreation time. And they will put their priorities in place to make the proclamation to the world on families, another fabulous read. I should have put that link there. Not an aspirational document, but something of reality. So my daughter made this little portrait, or this little painting for me after my comment in Relief Society, where I said, I think we're not supposed to just stare at the stem of thorns that we seem to have been given. We are entitled to ask to see the flower. That moment mattered to my daughter. And so now that moment will matter forever to me. In tip 21, let me share with you, as lawyers and as businesswomen, we are unquestionably seen as leaders. Our realism, our pragmatism, and our attention to detail, yep, ladies, can often suck the wind out of a room. And when, maybe with a little more careful, or I know being a little more careful to detail in our wording, we could actually add life and excitement. This tip I have learned by exchanging the three-letter word but with the word and. This is probably the largest time-saving tip I have to offer. Even when I am vehemently opposed, if I can start my comment with the word and before discussing my reservations, the conflict typically resolves quickly to everyone's satisfaction, saving hours of negotiating through hurt feelings, bruised egos, extra conference times and committees, retasking, or even scrapping an otherwise good plan, project, or settlement. Please try to look at your vocabulary and incorporate and if we were to do this rather than but. All right, so tip 22. I have lots of things in tip 22. Why were we given time in the first place? Of course, we know that we are to create and we are to do, but we are also to capture. So there are many comments on guilt and time runs out before our day runs out, and how am I supposed to create those memories? So let me share with you all kinds of journaling tips. These are things I wish I knew years ago, so I hope in there is some aha moment for you and a glimpse of hope. Now, I wish Facebook had existed when my kids were little. I still have piles and piles of things from my kids that I need to get into those scrapbooking books. But now with Facebook, I can put my kids in charge of sending me pictures, and on January 1st, I spend 5 minutes and order a hard copy, and I have a fantastic recapture of my year. Now, hopefully someday I will have pretty books with borders, but it's just not in the cards yet. So hopefully this may be a tip for you as you feel guilty about the scrapbooking and the memories that are not getting put down. Next, gratitude. Yep, we all know about this. The gratitude journaling, we're supposed to write down 3 things we're grateful for in the course of our day. Yes, please, please, please do this. But, and I want to share something with you. I found this book, and yep, silly little thing. I found it and I picked it up because she was wearing yellow, my favorite color. But I am now in my 3rd year of my gratitude and look forward to journal. I have gone to Atlanta and I have taken her life and business coaching courses, and I'm working towards my coaching certification. So I guess if there's anybody out there that needs some free coaching, I'm working on my 50 hours that I need to get in to learn how to do this. But this has truly been a game changer for me. I write down things that I'm looking forward to in my next day, and they will help me and potentially you with all those we got to do those first things first projects. Sometimes I've got on my list, I look forward to returning phone calls, cleaning that pile on my desk. And it is amazing how overnight my attitude can change and I can look forward to things that I wasn't looking forward to previously. And it does help me get many, many more things done in my day. All right. I'm a little late to the game on this one, but it's okay. And if you are too, I still can record daily events that happen with my teenage and college kids. So what you can see here is April 17th. Last year on April 17th, it was huge. Our family finished reading the Book of Mormon. Yep, 5 verses a day for, what feels like eons of time. Now this year, April 17th, I got Narf. Yep, that's the lab rat I have that is now part of my home because of my daughter's psychology class last semester. But Narf has a new glass water bottle, and she no longer can eat through water bottles. And it is fun to go through. I've done all of 16 and now going through 17. And it's okay. You miss dates. I sometimes on a Saturday or a Sunday will gather up my family together or on the phone, tell them to go through their calendars and give me things that happened on these particular dates because those dates are blank and they need to help me fill in my journal. Next. All right. For the most part, if it's written in my big journal, it's not going to get read. But if it is in my scriptures, I am going to run across it often. I love 3-word journaling. I love teaching this to my seminary kids. I love teaching it to anybody who will listen to this. It is by Randall Wright. He even has a book on it. I'm not going to go ahead. I lack of time to tell you the event that happened that made the scripture on the left mean a lot to me, but I do want to share with you a small moment that would be long forgotten if that date wasn't recorded in my scriptures. But I get to run across this often. I was reading these verses as a seminary teacher, and Anna came to me, my daughter, at 4 years old, and saw me marking my scriptures, and she wanted to mark her scriptures too. Oh, but I'm studying for seminary. I've got a lesson I've got to plan. But I stopped. I grabbed a missionary copy of the Book of Mormon, swallowed my pride, gave her some crayons, and let her scribble. Yeah, that was highlighting. 1 Nephi 3:7. Oh my gosh, she was so proud. And on that day, the scriptures became hers. I want to tell you, she is now 22 years old, and she has a daily habit of reading the scriptures well beyond my own capacity. Here is my yearly recap journal. I record one thing for each year I am old. This was given to me by my husband, so you can see my husband's handwriting saying, Wonder Woman was created in 1942, so it's fitting that you get this the last day of your 42nd year. And so I take time, sometimes a couple weeks, sometimes the day of my birthday, and go through and write what I have accomplished in that year. it is important to see progress. Let me share with you another thing that I learned from my mother. However, it was about 10 years into parenting before I actually re-implemented that. Oh, I guess more than 10 years before I got it re-implemented into my family. So my mother on New Year's Eve would get the paper towel cardboard tube that normally would go in the trash, so she would save one back, and she would each give us a piece of paper, and we were to write down our accomplishments and our goals. We would roll it up and stick it in the tube. Mom called this our time capsule. And each New Year's Eve, we would get to pull out the time capsule tubes. Yep, it was here that I could see that I was progressing, even though I would often, especially in my teenage years, swear to my mother that I was not. It was visible in my handwriting, my projects, my desires, my goals, and in my schooling. So now that paper towel tube time capsule is a tradition in our family, and I can share with you that I now have 10 years of time capsules. Let me share another little tip with you, and that is I spent the first 10 plus years of our marriage in young women's and helping youth and spending time with them on New Year's Eve. I was elated to get back New Year's Eve for myself, and I started making the goal to go to bed early. We also saw that our kids were getting older, and at some point in time, spending New Year's Eve with us may not be in the cards. So we decided that we would celebrate New Year's Eve at 8 p.m. with Rio de Janeiro. It is exciting for me to get to share with you that 8 o'clock is not too late for your teenagers to spend some time with you. And it is fun to see them actually bring their friends over, and in many years of these time capsules, they have friends who have added their little sheet, their signature, their accomplishment, their goals, the favorite movie, the favorite book, their color, age, and their favorite activity for the year. And then there's plenty of time to go off. They can enjoy their New Year's, and I can start my new year off right by going to bed early. All right, so the last 3 tips, and we will have 25 time mastery tips. I was so excited 2 weeks ago to get to spend some time with my daughter who lives in New York, but we were going to be in California together. And I had read this book. It is called Triggers, and for over a year now, I have this spreadsheet that takes these things that are really important to me, and in just a minute, sometimes 2 minutes, I go through these lists marking that these things got done in the day or maybe didn't get done in the day. And there's things that sometimes I need to start or stop redoing in my life. And then she got out her computer and said, "Mom, this is my bullet journaling." And these aren't hers, but these are some from the internet. And she has always loved to color, continues to love to color, and absolutely a fantastic thing, because you look at my spreadsheet, it is horribly boring and it doesn't really show you a lot of trending. But if you see in that middle color-coded spreadsheet or grid or pixel, you can start to see trends gather through color coding. So this, between the book Triggers and going out on the internet and Googling bullet journaling, I hope in here are some tips for you to feel like you are getting things done. Now notice I've got a sleep journal, and this is tip number 24. I got to see our Arianna Huffington speak several years before she wrote the Sleep Revolution book. Highly encourage this to you, but it was fun, and the whole room was laughing when she said, "You know what? You've just got to sleep your way to the top." And I really do mean sleep. So she has an entire book where she starts out and she found herself hospitalized for exhaustion, and explains the importance that she learned that sleep is needed to be productive. So, again, I'm going to say this is where a spouse can become really, really critical. So you can get in that 2-hour nap or do the pass off in the middle of the night. If you're a single parent, I'm going to encourage you to find friends and colleagues that can help you choose a weekend where you take their kids on a Saturday night, and then they can take your kids on a Saturday, Sunday night, and you can just swap some sleep time. And finally, we're doing great on time. I'm going to give you this last little tip. If you want to own your own company, your own law firm, or be your own boss, please don't lose track of that goal. Now, I will tell you that it will be harder, but it will be worth it. It will be 10 times worth it. You can, things that you can do. You can put your kids on payroll. They can be earning active income. Talk to your CPA about this. You can set up a 401k for them so they can be participating years and years in advance and giving them that amazing, amazing start. You can take business trips as family expenses. Our kids came and they sat with us at conferences, and they learned how to sit at the ages 2, 4, 6, and 8. They could sit for hours. When they got a little older, we could actually assign them to other sessions. At 10, at 12, at 14, at 16, they would be assigned to go take notes. So we would be able to gather more information at a conference. I promise you, if you start young, this will be as natural to them as putting them through swimming lessons, ballet, sports, or anything that requires discipline. And I love it best when all of the areas of my life can intermingle, when work and family and community can be all mixed together, especially in the conferences that we do. So, as I close, may you please go and create your team, develop your talents, prioritize impact, energize initiative, add moments and appreciate momentum, and lastly, share energizing enthusiasm with others. Oh, excuse me. If you need more, we have a J. Reuben Clark Women in Law blog, and we have a BYU Management Society Women's Network blog. And in the next couple days, Rixa and I will put up these 25 tips, and we can keep this discussion going. So ladies and gentlemen, time. You really do have it. Brothers and sisters of faith, leave a legacy. Create a legacy. Let me tell you, this is not being vain. This is a commandment. Now, go out there and do good things, being much more enthusiastic and energy-filled. And as you need it, maybe in the next minute, go reboot life. Thank you so very, very much. And Rixa, I will turn the time back over to you.
Oh, thank you, Angel. That's wonderful. I want to clap. I loved your personal stories, and some were hard to tell, and yet it was the personal knowing that you've struggled through these things and you've found things that work and you shared those with us. That's important to all of us, so thank you so very much. I really love those insights and understanding. I mean, time's a universal problem, a universal thing that we're always looking for ways to make it work, and so I appreciate that. Thank you to our audience for being here and listening. We will be sending a short survey to you, and we appreciate you filling it out so we know more about what you enjoyed and also what you would like to hear from us. We have recorded this. It will be posted on the BYU Management Society site. I will also send you a link to the recording as soon as it's posted. Again, thank you, Angel, and thank you to our audience for being on the call. Don't forget our blog, and watch for further announcements about our next webinar, which will be on July 18th. Crystal and Ryan Beck will be talking about the role of a spouse in supporting each other's professional goals. We hope you have a great day, and thank you so much for participating in our Women in Business webinar.